This video was originally recorded with the intention of having video and not just audio. The video quality was terrible. So for now I am just going to be recording audio until I can get a proper camera system set up. So if things don't make sense for this episode 1, apologize in advance. If I pause for an extended amount of time, I am more than likely taking a drink. I had the intention of this podcast going by a certain structure, but it looks like it will most likely change. Thank you for giving this a listen. Cheers.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to Sunday Sippin, place where we get to know somebody over a drink. I'm your host, and today we have a very special guest with us. No, I'm just kidding. Today is just going to be me. So normally how this is supposed to work, I'm supposed to bring somebody on. We share 6 different drinks, and I ask them 6 different questions just so, me and you at home can better understand them just a little bit more. But today is going to be slightly different. How this is going to work today, I've had 6 different people ask me 6 different questions. With any topic, no rules, no limits. I have no idea what they wrote down for me. Could be serious, they can be funny. So it should be interesting. But before we get into these 6 questions, I figure, let's just get down to the basics and you can know a little bit more about me. So to start off, my name's Levon. I'm 32 years old. I have 4 children, and I stay in California of the United States of America. So now that we got that out the way, let's get into the first question. So the first bottle we are going to be drinking is this Evan Williams single barrel. This is a great everyday drinker. It does come in at 40%. And, it's really not that expensive, but it is great. So I'm not going to pour too heavy here just because I do have to go through 6 of these. But I'm pretty sure as we get down the line, drinks are probably going to get a little bit heavier. Oh, it just smells so good. All right, let's give this a taste and then let's open the question. Like I said, good everyday buy. Something you can have every day. If you haven't had this yet, definitely pick it up. Okay, so the first question we have here is, what is one thing you want to instill into your children? One thing I want to instill into my children is just, the ability to always just be yourself. Stay true to you. If there's anything that I've learned in life is that a lot of people are unhappy with always trying to impress others, always trying to fit in with the crowd. I'm somebody who used to do it growing up, so this is me speaking from experience. I wasn't somebody who always was myself, and I'm still learning to be myself, and you kind of get lost in a dark place when you're not. So if I can teach my kids to always be themselves, I know that they will be a lot more successful in life and happier with their life rather than trying to be this person that they're not and please everybody. You know what I'm saying? And if I could instill that into them, then at least that, then I feel like I'm doing very well as a father, Now, I'm not saying that, my parents or anything like that didn't try to instill that into me, but, just if I had that little extra push of just saying like, hey, be yourself, my life could have been completely different. So yeah, that was a great first question. Let's get straight into the next one. Here we got a Stellum single bourbon barrel. This is actually a store pick from Liquor Lineup in Las Vegas. Funny story about this bottle. I actually won this in a bet with an old colleague, dudes in football, you know. So we bet a bottle. I ended up winning on a Green Bay versus Cowboy game. Of course, a lot of shit talking was happening, but yeah, this is another great bottle. Obviously, I haven't had this for very long, and I'm almost finished with this. I am probably going to try to get another one of these soon. But yeah, let's get into this. So this one doesn't smell as sweet as the Evan Williams, but this is still fantastic. After having this again, I remember why that bottle's at, that. So the second question we have here is loyalty or honesty. You can only choose one. I don't know who wrote this, but loyalty can be taken in so many different ways. It depends on what you choose to be loyal to. Like obviously, some people are loyal to their sports teams, true fans through thick and thin. When you're talking about relationships, obviously, no cheating involved, stuff like that. And you're always there with your partner, you're loyal to your partner. Or, some people are like loyal to their jobs. But I honestly think I'm going to have to go with honesty. Partially being because I do have honest tattooed on my chest. It's always better to tell the truth. It's always best to be honest with somebody else, yourself, with anything in life. I mean, sure, being honest and stuff like that is hard sometimes. And I do feel like loyalty and honesty do kind of go hand in hand, in some things. But yeah, man, I feel like being honest is just a little bit slightly more important because I do my best not to lie to people. Do my best now to be honest with myself. And if you're not honest with yourself, then geez, that just ends up being a whole mess of things. And, I wasn't always an honest person. I'll be honest with that. I did lie a lot, did steal a lot, cheat a lot, stuff like that when I was younger. Mainly because obviously with the last question, I really didn't know who I was because I wasn't being myself. But now I work on being as honest as possible, not only to me, but to everyone around me. So I think that's why I'm going to go with that one. Let me finish this off. Oh, see, I told you. Just poured a little bit too much, so this one's going to get pretty dicey. Okay. Cleanse the palate here. Rinse this out. So far, I'm loving these two questions. So I know who asked the questions, not specifically who wrote down what, but a good amount of the people who I had asked to write down these questions, kind of joke around with a lot. You know, we try not to act too serious all the time. Some of them I've never actually had a serious conversation with. So if you're one of those people who I mainly just joke around with, and this first two were one of your questions, thank you. I appreciate it. It's nice to know a different side. Obviously, you can tell me after which question you wrote, but for now, I don't want to know. So, third bottle, third question. This one is an Old Forester single barrel strength. This one's a little bit stronger. I actually got this out at El Cerrito Liquor. This is their store pick. They are located in Corona. They have phenomenal store picks when it comes to whiskey. Every single one that I've bought in has been fantastic. So shout out to El Cerrito. If you've heard of the store, but you've never been there before, I suggest you go check them out. We're just going to do this one because this is actually 67%. A lot of the things I drink are barrel strength. So yeah, this is why I'm pouring a little bit light. So before we actually taste this, I'm gonna let this sit for a little bit just because it tends to be a little bit hot up front. I'm gonna let it breathe a little bit, let it cool down so that way it's not as spicy. So let's ask this third question before we get into this. If you can go back in time to give your younger self some advice, what would it be? I had a feeling one of those would come up. I mean, that question's kind of not really common, but I hear it quite a bit. And I never thought I would actually have to answer that, so this might take a little bit of time to process. I mean, again, I don't know who wrote these. I don't know I didn't know what these questions were, so I have no time to prepare. So this is all just me and you guys talking here. Again, this is getting to know somebody over a drink, so I hope you guys are having a drink with me as you're watching this. But damn, let me think about this and let me try this as I try to put the answer together. Oh, it just smells fantastic. That does not drink like it's 67%. This is something that's dangerous. But then again, I am used to drinking something of this high proof. This is clarification. This is all stuff that I enjoy drinking. This is all things from my home bar. Just so we put that out there. But advice. Honestly, okay. I had a saying actually growing up back then that I wish I stuck to. Okay. And it's don't think, just do. And if I had to go back and give myself advice, I would probably say do that. I mean, obviously, I have so many ideas of things that I want to do, or so many ambitions and goals in life that I had growing up of what, things that just seemed out there and I just couldn't reach, I guess, like once you start to sit and think about it, that it's like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. No, man, just go for your goals. It can't happen. Don't worry about the bullshit. Yes, things are going to be hard, but if you go for it, you can achieve it. So I think, yeah, I would just say, like, remember what you're saying. Don't think, just do it, and just do it. Just do it, because a lot of the times growing up, I did just think about it and think about it and think about it, and a lot of the things that I either set out to do or things that I've had ideas about, I end up just thinking, overthinking, and then it just became an idea that got put up on the shelf, so to speak. Um, yeah, man, just if I could talk to myself, just go for it, man. Just really go for it. Who knows where you would be now or where I would be now if I just went for everything that I wanted to do or set out to do and never gave up. I mean, obviously failures happen, but if you can push past the failures till you finally gain success, I think that makes everything worth it. And this is also for anybody at home, If you're thinking about doing something, just go ahead and do it. Sure, it's going to be hard, but you know what? The payout's worth it. You get something out of it, even if you fail. Just do it. God, I'm really not expecting any of these questions. I honestly thought I was going to get um, joke questions like, oh, what's your favorite color? Or, oh, why are you such a jackass? you know? Because, obviously the people who wrote these questions know me. And they know I'm usually never serious a decent amount of the time. So, or maybe that's why they're asking me these questions, because I am really not serious all the time. And maybe they do want to see the serious side of me. I don't know. Let's not get that into it. Anyways, the next bottle is this Weller CYB PB. My bad. Before we get into the question or anything, I hate hype bottles. One thing people should know about me, and some do. I hate hype bottles. I really do. Charging $500 for this is a joke. I didn't pay $500. Let's just be that, But it's stuff like this: Blanton's, Eagle Rare, Russell's Reserve, or any allocated bottle that is like 3 times the price or more. A lot of them actually end up being disappointing, but when I tried this is like so beautiful and fantastic. Is it worth $500? No. Obviously not. Nothing's worth that in my opinion. But if you got the money, then fuck it, why not? But that's just my personal opinion. If you think this is worth $500, then by all means. But for me, nothing will ever be worth that. But this is great. I can have this all the time. If it was more accessible, I would. But obviously, I have to do this for certain occasions. But as we let this one breathe as well, let's get into the next question. Now that you and your wife have combined total of 4 children, what are some of the do's and don'ts you have learned along the way? So there's many ways that I can take this question, and I'm going to answer 2 different ways. So I have a stepdaughter. That is one of the children that I have. I consider her my daughter. Obviously, now that me and my wife are married, even beforehand, I considered her my daughter. But some of the do's and don'ts when it comes to parenting, in that aspect, as if you're talking about step parenting, do treat everybody like they're your own kids. Do not favor. Do not be unfair. You know, that's the main of it. And the more you do that, if you were to treat your stepkids, this is for anybody. If you treat your stepkids like your own kids, your relationship with not only the child, but your partner is going to be that much better because both understand the situations. Obviously, they can tell if you're being favorable to one or the other. But in total, as a parent, the biggest don't is don't try to relive your life through your kids. You see this a lot with sports kids, or sports parents, trying to push your kid into sports because you were a failure at sports and you couldn't make it. So you want to push your kids into sports to try to live out your dream. That's a big don't for me. The biggest do is just always be honest with your kids. I will never lie to my kids. They ask me a question, I'm not going to lie to them because I don't want my kids to lie to me. Obviously, they're going to lie to you sometimes, but like when somebody breaks something, I'm not condoning it or anything, but I'd rather them not snitch on each other. But yeah, just do be honest with your kids. Do try to teach your children everything that you know. When it comes to your ability to play games, sports, building things, teach your kids all the knowledge you have when it comes to all subjects. Something that I struggle with, and I'll be honest, is don't lose your patience. Don't lose your patience. Try not to get angry as fast because they are kids, especially when they're small. So they don't know. They have to learn. And the only way for them to learn is for you to have the patience and teach them. Let's get into this before I continue. That is so good. So another thing too, this is in the lower end. So this is kind of like water to me, I guess you could say. But it's still very good. If I could buy this at MSRP, I would all the time. It's an easy buy. But then again, that's probably why people look for it. And now it's like 10 times the price. But I love that question. I love questions when it comes to the children. Just because mainly it makes you reflect on yourself. I'm a big firm believer that your kids are a big reflection of you. And you can really see how somebody is as a person by looking at their children. And a good amount of my friends are like wonderful parents. You look at their kids and they're like, wow, you know, they're really doing a great job. But let's get into the next one. This one has to be my most favorite in these 6 bottles. Penelope 15-year American Light is coming in at 64%. I love the Penelope brand, man. Like, I really do. I remember the first Penelope bottle my wife actually bought me. And it was the Penelope Architect, and from there, it just beautiful. I don't know what it is about it. Some people love it, some people hate it. I'm one of those persons who love it. But ever since that day, I've been collecting Penelope bottles. I still need to get my hands on a private 9-year. So, and a Valencia. So hopefully soon I can get my hands on that before I finish this and I have to buy another one of these. Another thing about me before we get into this next question, I'm somebody, when it comes to bottle collecting, I usually try not to buy the same thing twice. The reason for that being is if I do that, if I continue to buy the same bottles, I feel like that limits me. And like tasting wise, I always like trying new things. I'm always about new experiences. That's one thing everybody should know about me. I'm all about new experiences. And if I continue to buy the same bottle over and over and over and over again, that's just going to hinder a lot of the experience that I could have had at that point. So instead of, if I bought this twice, I could have bought something else. And I could have found something that's maybe even greater for the same price point or cheaper. So that's why. But Penelope bottles I always buy twice, except for the Rio. Nothing against that bottle, but it's just not for me. All right. So this next question. Besides being a father and a husband, what is one thing left for you to accomplish for yourself? So first thing, not family related. First thing, oh no, because the honest or loyalty. Okay. This one, first thing left for me, myself to accomplish. There's a lot of things that I want to do in life, but none of them I feel like would have the significant impact. You know what? I'm gonna go with this. Let me take a sip of this first. So because this is a light whiskey, it's not as powerful on the nose, but when it comes to flavor profiles, it does not, fall short. It is so fantastic. I'm gonna miss this when it's gone. So I'll answer this in 2 different ways. One thing I want to accomplish for myself is conquering my fears. Mainly my fear of heights. I've told myself I would never fly on a plane. I'd never go on a hot air balloon. I do roller coasters. But going up, I freak out every time. It's when we finally start going down, like the butterflies and everything start going away. But even then, I don't really have my hands up. I'm like this every time. But yeah, conquering my fear of heights is definitely one of them. Like, I kind of want to say I want to do skydiving once, but at the same time, like, I feel like if I were to do that, I'd piss my pants. But I tell this to my kids: conquer your fears, and this is something that I need to do for myself as well: is conquer my fears. And definitely one of my biggest fears is heights. Um, so that's definitely one. Um, but one of the biggest things, I mean, this is why I started this whole thing, but one of my things that I do want to accomplish is uh, being able to give back, you know, to people. Not per se like homeless shelters and things like that, which are great. You know, I'm not knocking that. Um, but with things that I enjoy, you know, I want to be able to give back in that sort of sense. Like, I started this as spirit's journey, you know, and one thing I do want to accomplish is be able to do my own private barrel picks and things like that, and be able to go on those journeys, and with that barrel pick just give a bottle to everybody who's supported me. So that way it's kind of like I'm sharing a piece of myself with somebody else. That's the way I see it. It may sound stupid or maybe a little bit dumb, but for me that's the best way I can describe it. um my taste profiles, things that I like, I get to finally share with you inside of something that I enjoy. That's something that I want to accomplish. And it goes hand in hand with like working with distilleries and stuff like that. This is things that I've strived to do the first time I've had my the 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 drink that changed everything for me. We'll get into that a little bit later, but I'm not gonna let you guys know what that is yet. Few people know what the drink that changed everything for me is and embarked me on this journey. But yeah, those are two things that I want to accomplish in life: conquering my fears and trying to get successful in not just the bourbon world. Like, obviously I do have bourbons, but um tequilas, you know, mezcals. I want to get into rum, stuff like that. And if I can give back and share bottles of my own in every single category, that's something that I think would be fucking fantastic, you know. And here we are, the final final bottle. Mhm. And final bottle is Michter's Barrel Strength Rye. Funny thing about this, um, I didn't buy these bottles for a long time. Any Michter's, not just this one, because the bottles kind of remind me of Tabasco. That might be stupid, but um, I had my eye on them for a while, and I just never pulled the trigger. I actually got influenced by a YouTuber named Bruzel. Maybe you've heard of him, maybe you haven't, but if you haven't, check him out. And he talked about this being one of the best ryes out there, which says a lot for him being a straight bourbon guy. And I'm not really a rye person. It wasn't, or at least I thought it wasn't. It wasn't until my first whiskey tasting that I hosted that people brought ryes that I've never heard of before. And I actually loved them. They were one of the best bottles for me there. And once I found out about this, I just kind of had to buy it. And the final question we have here is, What is your biggest fear? If I get emotional on this one, I'm sorry, because I know already what the answer to this is. Um, so many of you know, and obviously, if you're watching this and you don't know me, you obviously don't know. I lost a child, and my wife's currently pregnant. So my biggest fear is not only just losing another one. I hope Antonio's born, but my biggest fear is seeing all my kids go before I do. Um, you know, uh, it was so hard the first time, seeing everybody in pain for me, me being in pain, and I don't think I could do that again. I really don't. Um, this may be of irrational to some of you, and it may not be to some others, but yeah, no. Losing them before I go and not being able to see them grow up is a big fear of mine. It's the biggest fear that I have. Every dad wants to see their kid grow up, Every dad wants to be there for first everything, First day of school, first day of driving lessons, first car, first day off to college, if they decide to go to college, obviously no pressure. But yeah, just it freaks me out, because it's something that I think of constantly, from, because I have a lot of time at work to think about things, and that sometimes it ends up leading that way. But no, that's if I had to say something, that's the biggest fear. That's definitely the biggest one. I'm sorry to get a little bit more serious on that question, but some people's biggest fear is heights. Some people's biggest fear is open water, which is another one of mine. Fuck boats. Uh, never doing that shit. I'd rather fly than do a boat. The ocean is a scary place, but or some people's biggest fears, getting attacked by birds. But that's mine, and that will always probably be. I know it's probably bad to think that negatively, but sometimes when you get alone, you can't help it. But cheers. Um, so we are officially 6 drinks down, 6 questions in. I hope everyone got to understand me and my thought process. It's not maybe necessarily something you want to know about me, but if you do have questions for me, feel free to comment what your questions are for me. Feel free to DM me if you have anything that you are interested in, or if maybe, you want to come on here and just have a conversation and get to know one another. That's perfectly fine as well. Thank you again, and I'll see you guys soon.